Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Daysofourlives, August 26, 2026. So, start off with Marlena and Belle. So, Belle asked Marlena, why, does she appear nervous? Why is she doing this embroidery thing in her hand? So she said that she's just been nervous about a lot of things lately. I mean, how is Theo and Abe gonna cope after Lexi's death? She's worried about her granddaughter who is without her mom. She is worried about how Chanel and Johnny are going to deal with two young children. And, also she is worried about Belle and Chad going to Italy to, find out more clues about this Chesapeake. So Belle sat down and she said that she and Chad really got to do this. And furthermore, Chad has his security detail in Europe ready. So she, Marlena is, comforted by that. But at the same time, she knows that Stefano has a lot of, gimmicks up his sleeve. He used to have a lot of gimmicks up his sleeve. And she warned Belle not to just take it for granted. Like, Stefano can change up a lot of things, and Belle is convinced that Stefano would not do nothing to harm his son. And furthermore, like when they were at the concert months ago, they got clues from a certain person that wanted them to go to Italy, and now they're thinking, who could that person be? Maybe it could be Dr. Rolf. Dr. Rolf was besides Stefano in his final years, but Marlena warned her that Dr. Rolf is a crazy madman and he's a lot more dangerous than Stefano at times. So you gotta watch out for that. But Belle is still convinced that even still Dr. Rolf would do whatever Stefano asked of him, and Stefano is Chad's father. He would not harm Chad, but Marlena is saying not to put it lightly against him, that Stefano and his goons can't be up to no good. She's still concerned about it. Now, she talked about 25 years ago when she went through the whole ordeal with Stefano and what it did to her and John, and she's just worried about what it might do to Belle. But Belle is still like, she's assured that nothing's going to happen, and it's up to her and Chad to find out, and she owes it to Marlena and to John to make sure that this riddle gets solved. She is not backing out of it, so she even rushed out of it for sure. So Stephanie is in the square, and Alex and Kelsey, bump into her or, saw her across the square, and he's asking, hey, is everything all right with you? So she said, she was a little bit lightheaded from giving blood earlier, but Theo was there to just, help her through it. So, of course, that rubbed Alex the wrong way, and he's like, oh, Theo was there to comfort you, huh? The same person that was on our couch the other night, shirtless, the same person I saw you huddled up with in the hospital. And so she's like, excuse me, are we really going to go here with this? Like how I saw you and Joy hugging it out in the hospital room. So he said Joy's situation is different. Joy just found out about her condition, and I was just comforting her. So she's like, oh, really now? So we're just gonna compare things now. Theo's mom just died. Like, are we really gonna compare notes here? So anyways, she just said, let's just dead the issue right there. There's so much bigger things happening. Chanel and Johnny had just had their baby, and Lexi just passed. There's so much more pressing things at hand, and furthermore, I shouldn't even be around you and Kelsey. So I guess we need to just part ways. So that's what happened. Alex and her just stopped talking, and he went his separate way as well. We get into more of them later on. So Theo and Abe, they couldn't stay home because of everything that happened recently with the loss of Lexi and how her presence is really strong in the house. So, it's gonna be a while for them to really get back to normal, understandably. So they just talk about how life and death are so linked in a sense, because Lexi passed the moment Chanel's baby girl was born, and they talked about how the name holds so much significance and how she will always have a guardian angel around her in Lexi. And Theo Abe also asked about how they're glad to have had the time with her, and how Theo was able to say his last I love you to her. But he also mentioned to Theo, hey, I know EJ really almost cost, us the opportunity to be with her in her final moments. So he said that, even though mom said it was her decision, I still hold them accountable. I still hold them, for this, and it was really wrong of them. And the fact that Johnny is going to say to me that he was doing it in the name of family, it just rubbed me the wrong way. It's how he said it, and I feel like he has more to hide. So Abe is saying, hey, is EJ and you think EJ and Johnny have something else hiding that they don't want you to know? So he said, yeah, I definitely think so, but I really don't know what they're hiding. But it doesn't seem right. So they get up to head out back to home. At this point, Roman does come in, and he hugs the both of them and expresses his condolences, and he asks if there's anything that he can do for them, offer them a meal. So Theo said that they're okay, they're just heading home. But then Abe was glad to have seen Roman because he wanted to run something by him regarding Lexi. So Theo said, all right, I will see you back at home. I'll just take a walk to clear my head. So Abe said, are you going to be okay? So he said, yeah, sure. So Abe and Roman sit down to talk, and Roman asked how is Theo doing. So Abe said, he worries about him because he doesn't really, tend to express his feelings openly. So he just wants to know that he's able to help him in any way. Now, he tells Roman about Lexi's final wishes and that she wanted a celebration of her life rather than a funeral. And she wanted it to be held at the pub, which held a special place in her heart. Now, Roman was, happy at the idea. And he said, all right, just give me a date and I will finalize things, set up things. So Abe, wanted to pay for it. But Roman said, are you kidding me? I will do this for free, because one thing my mom and dad always did was serve public servants, whether it's police, the members of the police force, or medical personnel. Lexi was both. She was a police, a cop, also a doctor. We will be honored, me and Kate will be honored to, hold our celebration here, as well as just be there to help you and Theo through this. So I thought that was a really nice gesture of Roman. And yeah, I agree with the whole thing of not having a depressing funeral and just having a wonderful celebration of her life. So on other things, Jada comes home from work and she sees this nice intimate setup from Sean, a little dinner. And she was like, Sean, what is all this? So Sean said, oh, you've, done so well to take care of me, and now I'm just returning the favor. So she's happy to see this whole setup, and they kiss and they enjoy each other's company. At some point, it got a really, a little bit too intense with them in the living room on the chair. And that's when Stephanie comes in and interrupts them rather, and she apologizes because she used her old key and she didn't think to knock. And Jada was saying, no, it's fine, it's fine, you don't have to go. So she said, yeah, I really need to go. So that's when she comes out and she sees Alex. And of course, it's still kind of fraught between the two of them. And, he was on the phone with Joy talking about seeing her tomorrow. And she was like, who's on the phone? And he said, Joy, she was just saying goodnight to Kelsey. So that's when Stephanie wanted to leave. But then Alex stopped her and said, I don't like how we ended things at the square. Let's start over. Maybe we can talk somewhere, in private. So she said, where are we really going to go? So it's not like I can go back to your apartment. So he's like, why don't we use Jada's apartment? So she said, no, it can't be used. So he's like, wow, I didn't think that this was going to be so hard. And I'm like saying, Alex, you can't be that dense. Like, you just cannot be that dense. You don't think that this was gonna be hard? This was gonna be a walk in the park? Like, come on now, sir. Anyways, she said, what did you think? Like, you can't choose between Joy and your wife. Like, it can't be for both. As much as you try, you can't be for both. So he's saying that, it's not like I'm being there for Joy, I'm being there for our daughter. So again, Stephanie didn't want to hear that. Stephanie said, as much as you try to say that, like, you have to factor in both of them. It's not like you can choose between the two of them, and I'm just fed up with it. So before he could say anything, she just leaves because she's just fed up with it. Now back at Jada and Sean's place, now they talk about the whole thing, and Sean was like, maybe I need to just find my own place. So she said, no, you're not thinking of leaving, are you? So it's like he doesn't want any interruptions from Stephanie, or if they need alone time. So she's suggesting, let's come up with more boundaries. Maybe we need to go into the bedroom and keep it there. And that's what they did. Now moving on, Stephanie went to the square, and she's just upset with everything. And Theo comes in. Theo's like, Stephanie, what are you doing here by yourself? So she said, oh my God, Theo, I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your mom. How are you feeling? So he said that, thank you. I'm here, but I really don't want to talk about that. What's happening with you? What happened? So she's like, I don't really want to get into it, given that you just went through what you went through, but he wanted to hear about something else. So she told him everything recently that happened with her and Alex, and how it's just getting difficult, and she now has no place to go. Jada and Sean have the apartment and they're doing their own thing, and she can't go home to her parents' house because her mom is out of town, and she doesn't want to explain everything with Alex, with her father. So Leo said, why don't you just come over to my place? So she's like, I can't impose given everything that's happened to you. So I said, no, I actually would like the company because my dad is there, but he's grieving in his own way, and I would definitely want you to be there to just support me through this. So we didn't get an answer directly from Stephanie. I guess we'll see that tomorrow. So on the other hand, Alex, he didn't see Stephanie at all in the square. He sits down with Kelsey, who is at this point really fussy and won't go down. We know how it goes with young babies. So Belle came over there. She made a joke talking about how there's a disturbance from the DA's office. So Alex is just confused, like, what's going on? I'm not making any disturbances. So she said, no worries, it's just a joke. I can see you got your hands full there. May I try? So I said, yeah, if you can get her down, sure. So she was able to calm her down. So he's surprised at how well she did it. I'm like, come on now, Alex, she is a mom, she has Claire. She said that's how Claire used to be. She was a handful and still is sometimes. So he appreciates her stepping in and helping. He said that she's probably picking up on my stress given everything that's going on. So Belle talked about how she knows about the whole Joy situation and how Stephanie is feeling about that, and she understands that Joy has her reservations about Stephanie given the gun incident. However, she feels as if Joy is not respecting boundaries and she's overdoing it a little bit, and she thought that she talked to her the other day about it. So Alex said that her and Stephanie got into it, and then she doubled down on her wanting to just relax things with her and Stephanie. So now Belle says, oh boy, like this is really getting on her hands. So she said, what other things are you doing? Have you thought about getting a babysitter? So he said that he even got a time to even get a babysitter, and Belle is like, come on now, Alex, like you need to make your marriage a priority. It should be at the top of the list. If you don't invest in it, you're gonna lose your wife. And I agree with Belle, because like you have a marriage and you have a child, like your marriage has to be the forefront before everything. Like when the kids grow up, the kids grow up and leave you and your partner there, and because you didn't invest in it, it's just watered down. Or maybe you're not gonna live with a partner, you're gonna probably end up in separation, divorce. You don't want that to happen if you don't put in the work into it to like keep it afloat. So yeah, Alex is really behaving dense here, because he could have well and got the babysitter. He said he was even gonna get that. He even told Stephanie that he was gonna get that so that they can have time alone together as husband and wife. He's not doing what he promised her, and I don't want Stephanie to like hang out with you, because this is just madness. Now moving on. Kat goes over to the mansion. I thought that Marlena told her to stay away from EJ, but she's not hearing. Anyway, she goes over to EJ. EJ is reflecting on Lexi's death and how, he really failed his father's wishes. And Kat comes over. Kat offers her condolences and hugs him. And he, appreciates that because he doesn't think that he has any friends left after everything. And he appreciates her being there. So she said, yeah, I'll do anything that I can do to just support you in this time. So she, asked him about how is he feeling. So he said that he feel like he failed her, and he tells her in depth what really happened, that Lexi wanted to stay here. She didn't want Theo and Abe to know, but thankfully Theo was able to find her and they got to really spend final moments with her. He, feel bad because the drug really didn't, said that, it didn't fulfill its intentions. So Kat was saying, how are you going to come back from this, given that the drug failed your sister and also you didn't profit from it. So he said, I don't even know at this point, I really don't have a plan after this. So they sit down a bit. So she's asking about his other sister and where is she. So he snapped at her for a bit and said, I don't know where she is. So he apologized and he said he's just getting tired of people asking him, where's Kristen? Where's Kristen? He doesn't really know. So she apologized, given everything that's happening with him and his family. And he just thinks about how his relationships are fraught with his siblings and life is just so short and precious. And he just wished that things were better. And she said, it doesn't help that I'm in the middle. So he said, oh, before you, we already had issues between us. So it's not you. So she said, even Chad, he has moved on as well with Belle. And, EJ is saying that it doesn't even help that we swap partners. Right. So before I get into that detail, she also was saying she understands why he didn't give her the drug for her mother because of what was happening with Lexi. So I said he couldn't, in good faith, give it to her to cause any problems. So she appreciates that. She thanks him for that. So back to the whole Chad thing, she tells him that Chad and Belle are going on a trip to Italy. And EJ is saying he feels it's more than just pleasure. It's them trying to find out the clues behind the chess piece, as Chad said. And, Kat didn't know about that detail, but she's saying, it has nothing to do with you, so you don't have to worry. So EJ said, So he starts rubbing his Phoenix ring. I don't know what that means. Marlena, back at Marlena's place, she was doing her embroidery and she pricked her finger and it just brought her back to a memory years ago, and she pricked her finger on an embroidery. So I don't know what that significance is about. I don't know, but let's see what happens with that. But yeah, before I end off, also Kat was trying to use her, skills to kind of figure out indirectly if EJ knows anything more than what he knows of their time in Italy. He says that he doesn't know, but maybe in time he will figure out everything I remember. But I just feel like she's just playing it too close. She's not listening to Marlena's warnings. But anyways, that is it for today's episode, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.